Hi, welcome to PLZ Soccer's 1-to-1. I'm Peter Martin and I'm delighted to say our special guest is Dundee manager James McPake. James, congratulations. You get back to the Premiership with Dundee, and of course the great news is you also win Manager of the Year.
Yeah, look, the biggest thing is getting back to the Premiership. That's when we got the job. That was the aim, was to get the club back. Now, believing that we're a Premiership club and becoming a Premiership club is a completely different thing, but we can now say in our own right we are a Premiership club, and yeah, to get the award's nice. It's a collective award, I think, for a fantastic group of staff and the players throughout the course of a season, which has been tough with different things going on in the world. And when I say tough, we're lucky that we're getting to play football, because there are a lot of industries that aren't getting to even function. So no, like, the award's great. It's always nice to get awards, but it's a collective award.
I have to say, James, I headed through to Tynecastle, first game of the season against Hearts. It was an absolute hammering. I looked at that back line, I looked at how you lost the game, and I have to admit, I was worried.
Yeah, I think you could see the worry in my face when you interviewed me after the game. That was a sore one. It really was, and it was because we had built up and we were looking forward to that game. It was billed as the two biggest clubs in the division. No disrespect to any other club in the division, and it's a really tough division at that. And as we went on to see, but no, it was a real sore one in the first game of the season. But it was always going to be that game, with the scandal, with the vote, whatever people want to call it, and they say it's not. It goes through a computer and it brings fixtures out. Well, it was always going to be Hearts Dundee first game of the season. That was a certainty, and to come off the back 8 and a 6-2, it did take us a wee bit of time to recover.
Just picking up on that point, did you feel the club, when you look back at the start of the season, did you have a siege mentality? Because John Nelms was very much portrayed as the bad guy. You had Partick Thistle were angry, Hearts were angry, and then suddenly you're squaring up to them.
Yeah, look, I didn't pay too much attention to it, and I'll be completely honest with you, because I didn't know enough about it. And what I will say for John and Tim, since they've been here, that they want the best for Dundee, but they also want what's best for Scottish football, in my opinion. And now, whatever way that came across and whatever happened with that, again, I'd be lying, and I'm not avoiding the question, but we were just getting a team ready to try and get to the Premiership, and what happened. Yeah, a lot of clubs were upset, and I can see like Ian McCall's point and things like that with Hearts. Again, I wasn't too bothered. Everything for us and our focus was solely on Dundee, and at the end of the day, that's the way it happened. And I think they did use it that way. We didn't use it as a siege mentality, because we were in the Championship. We missed out on a chance of getting playoffs because the season got stopped. We were in a very good position, and we would have fancied ourselves in the playoffs last season like we did this season. So we lost out a bit. Hearts obviously lost a lot coming down, Partick Thistle, and teams lost. I think loads of teams lost out, but I'll just be honest, I don't know enough about it. My full focus was on building a squad that was capable of getting out of what I find is a very, very tough league.
How important was it to have that support of Tim Keyes and John Nelms? How did they help you? What's your relationship with them like?
It's always been great since I signed. I played a year and a half and then got the injury, and I had a decent year and a half. I was starting to struggle a little bit come the end of that, before I got injured, and then the knee injury happened, and I'll be forever thankful to that, because I get the best of treatment, and it was a case of, do you want to go Scotland, London, America, wherever you want to go, we'll get your knee fixed. And I'm very thankful to those two for that, because the way, and Jerry Docherty, the physio obviously, but the way they looked after me was fantastic. And then Paul as well, Paul Hartley, he gave me my first chance at coaching. It was strange because I was still a player, but Paul had me sitting on the bench and stuff like that. And then taking the new Club Academy Scotland thing came out, and there were a position at the club for the under-18 manager. So when I made my mind up to retire, then they told me that job was there. So it was great. It really was. Not retiring, obviously, because you want to play. Yeah. I was still quite young, and if I could have got over, but if I didn't get in that daft tackle with John Rankin, then looking now, it's the best tackle I ever made. No, but they've been great all the way through, and even when times have been tough in the management side, the backing's been there. But I think another key member of that's Gordon as well, and the backing he gives and the advice. But Tim and John have been superb with me from day one.
As you know, I'm a huge Gordon Strachan fan. He's absolutely fantastic to listen to. I mean, he knows everything about music and, of course, football. His stories are legendary, but the insight, how valuable was it leaning on Gordon for experience?
It's been vital. So vital, I think, for myself and Dave McKay, like two young coaches, managers, whatever you want to call us. Dave obviously had a spell at Stirling, had a spell with under 18s and reserves, but Gordon's always at the other end of a phone. He always said from day one, look, I'm never going to come in and pick your team, we're never going to do that, but the advice he gives you, the wee small points at times, or it can be sitting down for 4 hours going over stuff, or like you say, it can be talking about something completely different from football, and he gives you good life advice. He's a good person, first and foremost, but I've never met anybody that can, one, simplify things in football the way Gordon does, that I find very complicated. And he's been great. Himself and Leslie have been great for us and round about the place, and I think it's a massive well done to John and Tim as well that they managed to get him to the club, and having him there, and Charlie, I'm sure Charlie's told you, but when he's at training, he'll stand and watch, and then he'll come up and he'll sit down and say, look, I enjoyed the training, and I enjoyed this bit, enjoyed that bit, and just wants to talk football. And having him there is, I don't think we would have got anywhere without having him there, and that's me being completely honest.
Just picking up on that point, did you feel threatened when he joined the team?
I asked Charlie to come in. Yeah. I was desperate to get him in. I know him, I know the character of him, and no, never threatened, because his dream was to play for Dundee. His dreams to play in a Dundee derby and win, score in a Dundee derby. You seen what it meant to him when he scored the goal against Kilmarnock, the third goal, or the second goal, sorry, up there at the end, when he does a knee slide in front. The first, it was written for him, because we're the fans, only time fans in the stadium. Charlie scores, and I played in a testimonial when he scored as well in 2014 or whatever, Julian Speroni's testimonial, and Charlie was still a key member of the Stoke squad at the time. It was the end of the season and he wanted to come and play, so he played in Dave McKay's testimonial, but his dream was always to play for Dundee. So when I knew he was out of contract, then I picked the phone up to him, and having him in and the experience he's brought, and he's had a tough year, let's not forget that as well, a really tough year with, I don't need to get into it because we all know, but getting him, we knew when the big games were coming around, Charlie would play. Like we all knew that. Like, he was out the team for a spell, but that was to kind of protect him as well at times, because it did catch up with me. Obviously his mother, then COVID, but he's been a joy to work with, really has been, for someone that's played at such a high level. The way he wants to train, the way he wants to still learn is fantastic. So no, he's been brilliant.
James, I have to be honest with you. If I had played the two passes that Charlie played in the match against Wraith Rovers, I'd have been up the pub with my mates, showing them the passes on the phone and bragging about it forever and a day.
Yeah, the first one's one we worked on, and he plays the same pass almost for Jordan McGee against Hearts on the 2nd of January.
That's right.
Same one, and there's another one, can't remember what game, but he does it. So that the first one I can see, the second one I can remember being at the side and saying to Dave, what just happened there? Like, credit to Jordan McGee, he makes a run, but everything was in the pass, and that second pass is as good a pass as you'll see. And it probably did go understated because it's Charlie, and everybody thinks, well, Charlie can do that, but still to have the ability, and never mind, still to have the ability to play a pass like that, and people will probably sit here and slaughter me when I say this, but it's a world-class pass at any level, and no defender can deal with that. If somebody's going to make the run, the way he played that second pass, and we did, and it was one of those moments where you had to keep watching it back and going, right, what actually happened? And first one we got, because it was something we'd worked on, but the second one was just Charlie.
Charlie's contribution is massive, but of course, as you know, James, it's a team game, so everybody's going to contribute at some point in it, and their efforts were rewarded at the end of the season. But I just want to get your thoughts on throughout the season, because there were moments where you were off the pace, and I was reading the papers and they were saying, wait a minute, James McPake's under pressure here. Was there a point where you thought you were under pressure, potentially going to be losing your job?
I've got better at it, not reading social media and keeping away, and that's, I'm not reading any media, to be honest, if I'm want to go there, and that's helped me.
Hold on, is that Gordon's advice?
Yeah, Gordon, Jack Ross, there's a few people I've spoke to about it, because I think if you're going to read it, yeah, and when you do well and read it and you think it's great and everything. I've had it as a player. Like, social media is a massive part of society now, and I get that, and it's also a tough part of society for not just footballers but for everything.
Well, did you feel under pressure at any point in the season?
I think you're always under pressure as a Dundee manager, particularly in the Championship, where you're behind clubs like any club in the Championship. When you're the Dundee manager, you're expected to win. Now, Hearts is maybe a bit different because of their budget and the size of their club, but still our fans would be expecting us to go and be closer to Hearts, like we should have been closer to Dundee United the season before. Did I feel under pressure for my job? No, I'll be honest, because and I think Gordon and John have come out and said that this week, and I'm not only saying that because they've said it, but yeah, you feel pressure. Like when you're Queen of the South come and beat you at Dens, like, what's next? Yeah, like, and then Ayr United came and beat us 3-1 on a Tuesday night, and that was a very low point. And that wasn't that long ago, and that was a big moment in the season because we were going to Alloa the following Friday, live on TV, and that's when all the stuff comes. And if you don't win this one, the questions, I mean, because I wasn't reading it, but how big is this game? Well, yeah, it's massive. We're Dundee Football Club, we need to win, and you give all the cliched answers and the answers you've got in your head, and then somebody throws a curveball at you. What happens if you get beat? Well, we don't get 3 points or whatever, and you try and answer it whatever way you can. Yeah. But the backing for the board, the players, I never felt at any point the players had gone. I always felt the players were still buying into what we were doing. The players were still desperate to succeed for the football club. Like, there's Cammy Kerr in there, Paul McGowan, players that have been relegated that were so desperate to get back to the Premiership with Dundee because they were part of the relegation squad. And then, like, we had players in. So job-wise, I didn't feel we were going to pull the trigger at any point. Yeah. Because I don't think that's the way they work. Historically, since they've been in, and when you look at it, they normally do give managers time. But did I feel under pressure? Yeah.
We've mentioned Charlie, but of course there are other points in the season where I look at some of the players that really excite me and I like watching. I absolutely love McGowan. I love the fact that he's technically gifted, can take the ball in under pressure. And of course the other player that I was amazed you managed to get, Paul McMullen. How did you pull off that masterstroke? I can't believe United let him go.
Yeah, going to Gowser, I played with him, so I knew how good he was, and I'll welcome to Paul McMullen, but Gowser this season has played as a striker. He's played in a midfield two at Tynecastle in a game we were very unlucky. Who would have thought Paul McGowan could play in a midfield two now? And then he's played wide left to a front three. So, like, the job he's done for me since I've been the manager has been incredible, and he's, as you say, he'll take the ball anywhere on the pitch, even when you're losing. And I've been there when the crowd are on our backs and he still wants the ball, he'll still take it. Very, very, very good footballer. And then so he deserves a special mention. But getting Paul was a big one. One that we had identified. We knew his contract was coming up at United. He'd caused us real problems in the derbies the season before. I've knew him for a while. Liked him as a player for a while, and we never had that real threat with pace for a while either at Dundee, I don't think. And getting him done is we tried to do it earlier. It didn't quite happen. They weren't keen, or they were keen, they weren't keen, they were keen, and they were asking for too much money. And in the end, we got him signed on a pre-contract. And I think when that happened, it was very tough for them not to let him come to us, because he's kind of alienated, and we knew that. We had a good idea that if we got him on a pre-contract, then he'd walk the 200 yards up the road and come and play for us. And his assist return has been incredible. He's been, again, a joy to work with, and he'll be a good player in the Premiership next year. You
mentioned Cammy Kerr there. It's very rare you get testimonials these days.
Especially at 27. Oh, yeah, could be the youngest ever. No, he's been great, and even at times this season he's been out of the team. And then Jordan Marshall, who's been fantastic for us at left back, picks up an injury and Cammy has to go and play left back. And we're on this run, and Cammy was great, and he actually actually played left back in one of the playoff games when Marsh was fit, but Marsh wasn't quite ready to come back in. Christie Elliott gets injured, you move him to right back, and Cammy was excellent at Rugby Park at right back, so delighted he's still there. He's like Charlie, Finlay Robertson, Max Anderson, they're all Dundee daft, and I think that's important, having that type of character in your club that love the club and support the club.
We talked about on the field. What about off the field? Who's good in the dressing room? Who lifts everybody with their gags, with that team spirit?
Well, Gowser's the one normally, but it's been really tough though. See, this season, and this is credit to the players, have been driving to training, jumping in their cars, driving home. There's not, and that's why I'm really surprised still when I think about it and go, how did we manage to create that at the end, that team spirit, when you couldn't have team days out or whatever you wanted to do. Team days out are different from when I played, where it was just you would go in the bevy, but we couldn't even take them go-karting or anything. There were nothing you could do, but we understood that. So they were basically jumping in their cars. They had to drive alone, drive to training, jump in their cars, no showers, no nothing, drive back. So to manage to create a togetherness like we did, I think that's credit to the senior players for getting everybody together. The group chats, obviously, which is again, I'm talking about social media, but it's not such social media, but the technology side of it, that's helped because some of the staff are in the group chat, different group chats have obviously got their own where the hammer is and say we're rubbish, but the ones we're all in together, and you could see that, and it's good people, and that's what Gordon always says as well. First and foremost, they need to be good players, but more importantly, they need to be good people, and I think that's what we've done at the club, and that's helped. But Gowser, Charlie, Jason Cummins is one of a kind, to say the least, and there's a group of them, yeah.
I forgot all about Jason. Yeah, there's a character and a half. Listen, before we talk about the Premiership and your hopes for it, what about the end of the season? I mean, 1 defeat in 10. It was just a fantastic run. Did you sense from the players that they had the bit between their teeth about the run-in? They wanted to go for it?
Well, we wanted to keep it going, and the 1 defeat I think that you might be referring to is the St Johnstone game. When we got to that, the St Johnstone game, we were great for Callum. Look, Callum's a great guy. I'm delighted for him. The Dundee fans won't appreciate me saying it, but I'm delighted for Callum because he's done his pro licence with myself and Dave, and he's just a great guy. And
it's Dave Rigid now. That's St Johnstone with the double. That's killed off all his dinners.
He's lost all his dinners. He's not even getting in St Johnstone's greatest ever team. Sean Rooney's took his place. He'll play somewhere in that team, I'm sure, though. Where were we at?
We're at that bit where I'm talking about the run, the psychology of the team.
So they were coming, and it was a big game, obviously, because we're thinking, we've got a chance here. We played really well on the day. It was a good game, actually. We got a goal chopped off that should never have been chopped off. Xander Clark just drops it, Danny Mullen taps it in the net, Charlie misses the penalty, which is very rare also. So we could, look, now they went on and beat Rangers, as we know. I'm not saying we'd have won the Scottish Cup, but I think Callum would admit that day that we probably should have won the game, or at least took it to extra time and potentially penalties. But again, that's by the by now. But then we went on the run, and when you speak about the Rafe game, we won 3-0 in the first leg, and that was if it was 2-0, I don't think we'd have lost the next game. It's easy hypothetical to go back and say, or hindsight to go back and say we wouldn't have lost that game, but I just felt we had too much of a cushion, and it was a bit of a lesson for me because we'd never done that. Was my first experience apart from as a player as two-legged ties, and we were great at Starts Park, and the tie was effectively dead in everybody's eyes, but we knew Rafe were going to come. Rafe were a proper team, and they could hurt you if you didn't get it right, and we changed it. We changed a bit against them that we didn't really need to do against any other team in the league.
Charlie said he felt they were the best footballing team that you played.
They were the hardest to play against.
Harder than Kelly?
Yeah. Those games, it was a completely different approach. We sat off Rafe, and because we knew that if we were going after them, then John McGlynn had them very well coached, and they were moving into areas. Now people will say, well, why do you need to sit off Rafe Rovers? Because they've got a good coach, they've got a good way of playing, and they had good players. Yeah. And they proved that. It went right to the final day. They beat Hearts at Tynecastle. So they were a good side. But over the 2 legs, we had a game plan, and that's credit to the players. We can put out, we can say we want to do this, and this, but they went and done it to a T. And that defeat did annoy us. because we were wanting to keep it going.
Yeah, exactly.
And to lose at home to them, were again, I think we had the better chances in the game, but it didn't really matter, we were through.
When you come up against them, did you have that feeling, yeah, we can take them?
Yeah, well, I think I was involved in the playoff when Hamilton relegated Hibs. I wasn't involved. Terry Butcher never stripped me. But I was there. I was part of that squad. But we had 2 weeks off. I think that wasn't the case this time. Like the Premiership were playing right up until we were playing. I think they played the day after, or a couple. We played the Friday. They played the Sunday to find out who was finishing second bottom. So that wasn't the case. So I think that was a bonus for us this year that they were playing right up to the end. We could sit back and see, and we weren't too bothered about who we were playing because we'd played Hibs, obviously Hearts with a Premiership budget. We'd beat Hearts. Hibs beat us twice, but the games were pretty good.
Yeah.
4-1 was one of them, but I think it was 1-1 until the 78th minute. The other one they beat us 1-0 in the League Cup. And we'd played St Johnstone, so we knew we could compete. We knew we were strong as a squad, that we had almost everyone fit, no real injuries at all. Jordan Marshall was coming back, he was only kind of one. And I said it in the press, and people probably thought it was maybe a bit of arrogance or trying to be overconfident and try and get that to the players, but we knew the threats that Kilmarnock posed.
Yeah.
We've seen them often enough, and they were, if you allowed them to cross balls in and get balls to Lafferty, then they would hurt you. So that was a big part of it. How do we stop them? But most of it was about us, because we knew that they'd be worried about what we had in our team. Paul McMullen's pace, Charlie Adam, Paul McGowan getting on the ball in certain areas of the pitch. And we were a massive threat for set plays as well, which I think you've seen in the second leg of the playoff with Lee Ashcroft's goal. That was, so I think they had as much to worry about as us, and it was just a case, and I think Lee Ashcroft hit the nail on the head in his interview where he said we were the team that had a lot to achieve, they had everything to lose, and we played on that to the players. We sold them that, like 28 years history in the Premiership, like go and grab it, we spoke about the 6-2 game, the 3-1 game against Ayr, all the stuff, and I think that was enough. But they were on, the players were confident, they were fit, they were ready, and they were just a good spirit. We were playing good football, but we knew we could roll the sleeves up as well, and compete against any team, and it showed.
Today everybody's talking about mental health, mental strength going through that season. I mean, what was it like for you? Because if you don't make it over those 2 legs in the playoff, it changes your budget for your players. You have to be in a league that you really don't want to be in. And it just changes the whole mindset. What was it like for you?
I'll be honest, and again, I can now sit here and say it, but probably better asking Charlie, did my mood change over the course of that week? But I was very confident in the squad we had. We knew that if we performed, we could hurt Kilmarnock, and we knew that if we performed defensively as a team, then we could stop them also, and that proved over the 2 legs. We were the better team by far over the 2 legs, in my opinion. And the big thing, I think, we should have been out of sight at Dens with the chances we had. We had loads. It could have been anything that night, and that's what everybody kept saying. Like, Kilmarnock were that bad, they'll never be as bad again. And I felt a wee bit. That annoyed me a little bit, because I felt, well, not me personally, but give credit to the Dundee players who had performed ever so well, who had worked hard, who had carried out another game plan ever so well to stop Burkie putting balls into Lafferty, and when they were coming in, big Lee Ashcroft and Liam Fontaine were dealing with it. So we had done well in that aspect. We should have had more goals. I think, as Charlie said in his interview after the game, we had a lead, but what are you going to do with the lead? Well, we were going down to win the game, and that's all we spoke about. We wanted to go to Rugby Park and win that game. It wasn't, right, we're a goal in front. It might have been different if it was 4-0 or 4-1 or whatever, which it could have been on the night. Then your approach is a little bit different, although we still would have went and tried to win, because I don't think we could have sat in, and I don't think we had to sit in the way we did against Raith Rovers. Again, no disrespect, but just that's the way John plays. Kilmarnock play a completely different way, where they go a bit more direct and they get it up to laughs, and they try and hurt you that way. So, no, I don't know, like, pressure-wise, it was more an excitement. Like, I've only felt when we've been in cup finals or cup semi-finals, it felt like that. Yeah, the game was massive. as a football club and for me personally and my staff and everybody around it. But with the group of players we had complete faith in them, that they would go and play well. And looking, if Kilmarnock came out and did win the tie and were much better than us, then you shake hands and you say well done. But it was going to take a lot for them to be able to do that against that group of players with the hunger they had.
I'm really looking forward to seeing James McPake's Dundee in the Premiership. What style do you want to play? I mean, what type of players do you want to bring in? Of course, it comes with its own pressures. We're well aware of that. But with that style of play, is the main thing just keeping Dundee in that division?
Well, first and foremost, the aim is to stay in the division. That's the thing, and that'll always be. I heard Callum's interview, his first interview, when he got the job. First aim for the season, make sure they get enough points to stay in the division. He won 2 cups, finish in the top 6. So, no, I'm not saying that's what we're going to do, but that was Callum's aim. That's our aim. Is to stay in the division. How do I want to play? Just I want to win games. That's what we do.
I have to jump in there. I can hear Gordon in my ears echoing all the sentiments. I mean, he said as a manager, you know, especially at Celtic, it was win games, win, and then everything is going to be all right. So, bearing that in mind, is there a certain style that you'd like to play?
I had the under-18s and we played out for the back, everything was great, and I tried to do that with the first team, like naivety.
Yeah.
You come up and this is great, the pitches were good, it was the start of the season and we're passing the ball about. I think we played Inverness in the League Cup, and everybody's going, Dundee look a proper team. Fast forward maybe, not even a couple of months, the end of September, and you're down at Capello, the pitch isn't so good and everyone's coming back at you, and we had Graham Dorns at the time and he's trying to take the ball off the goalkeeper and I'm looking, this isn't working. Yeah. So again, that was a lesson for us. I spoke to Gordon about it and spoke to other people, but it was finding a way to win. Get your best players on the pitch. Yeah. Find a system that can hurt other teams, but a way that you can win. And we've got good players. We had to find a system that suited Charlie, because he was a top player in our team, and we got that at the end of the season. And we got it at spells of the season, and if certain things hadn't materialised, then he'd have played almost every game, we know that. Yeah. But then there were times we had to find a system that suited the players we had, and that's what we'll do again. We will sign, we'll recruit, and we've already got Adam Legston's back in, the goalkeeper, who done fantastic for us. He spoke about Cammy Kerr signing an extension. Luke McCowan, who had caused us real problems at Ayr, one we really like, he's in. And there will be more. Not too many more, but there will be more, because we believe we've got the nucleus of a very good squad. And no, look, I don't want to say we're going to pass out for the back. Yeah. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. We're going to try and stay in the division and give the fans a team to be proud of. Like, just find ways to win games of football, whether that's we playing, we're rolling up the sleeves and fighting, but we need to find a way to win games.
Have you missed the fans?
Massively. I've played there, and everybody said it's been great. Having people from the outside, imagine when you're 3-2 down against Queen of the South, and yeah, but we might not have got in that position if we had the fans there, because I have been there, and you can flip it on the other side. Imagine being Tynecastle when Queen of the South are 2-0 up there. Now, I've also played there. Yeah. And so, but again, I've played at Tynecastle where they get behind their team. So I think every club's missed the fans. And the Dundee fans, the first season we come up, I played in the Premiership, the SPL maybe it was called at the time for them, and they were outstanding. We managed top 6 that season. I'm not going to say that's what we're going to do this season. Obviously that's going forward what we want to achieve and be a progressive football club to getting into that. 5 years isn't enough as Dundee in that league. But no, the fans are brilliant. And having the 500 in it seemed like 5,000 because they hadn't been there for so long. And when Charlie scored that goal, the place erupted. And it was, I said to Dave, how good would this be right now if this place was full? So yeah, we've missed them massively and we can't wait to get them back.
Well, of course, the great thing is you get to play Celtic, and of course you pit your wits against Rangers and Steven Gerrard. Just
touching on that, Michael Beale's been a great help as well. Just somebody to speak to, but I've asked him how to beat Kilmarnock, how to beat Hibs. I'm going to be asking him how do you beat Rangers, Michael? So
it's quite heartening to hear that. What a great touch from Michael.
Yeah, no, he's outstanding, and I met him through Andy Boyle, who was a sports scientist at Coventry and worked with Michael at at Liverpool, now works for the Premier League in England, and he's been great. I think he is with all young coaches and all young managers, and to go and be able to speak to him is great. But to say, like, there's loads here and there's loads of people that want to help you. I'll never be afraid to ask for that help. But yeah, there are people that want to help you, but the main one we've got is Gordon, and that's the one that'll always and will turn to first.
Just before we finish, your family, they must be so proud of you.
Yeah, and my mum, she's happy. Phoned me because the Manager of the Year award, she phoned me, she said she bought every paper, there were no pictures. I said, nobody down here bothers. There might be some up in Dundee, so...
Well, welcome to the west of Scotland, James. Dundee have won a game. Over here it's who cares?
That's the best way, because when you get beat you get no hassle either, and she doesn't need to read them to slaughtering me, so no, so well, she's great and she's delighted. She's never seen me play, she's never watched a game.
Is that right?
Yeah, full career. My dad's not here now, but my dad would come to every game. Him and my brother would drive down to Coventry, even when I was playing down there. But my mum, she just couldn't cope. She didn't watch any of it. She would watch the interviews before the game and then go to her bed, and I'd have to wake her up and tell her, well, she knew if I didn't phone we get beat. If I woke her up, then she'd be happy. So no, she's delighted, everything's good when you're winning, of course, because there's a lot goes into it as well, that you're away a lot, and that's a job, and that's what we signed up for. Would we change it? Absolutely not, because it's been a great season, and we want to continue on the journey, because we do believe that we've got a great mix of young players. Put them in with experience, your Charlies, Paul McGowan, people like that, and then Adam Legstons, who's had a great career in England. Liam Fontaine, we've not even mentioned him. He was pivotal as well. And
have you got a couple of players in mind that you want to bring in, players that can help you and are up to the standard of the Premiership?
Yeah, we're a couple away, we feel, for where we want to be, and we'll keep doing that. Adam was a big one. It was key that we got Adam, the goalkeeper, signed up. He came in and made a real impact. Fontaine the same, real experience, real big game know-how. And it's no surprise, I think Liam Fontaine's two best games were the playoff final, when it really, really mattered. Like, not to say he wasn't great against other teams, but he was so composed and so calm in those games, as was Charlie, as was Paul McGowan, and that's why I was confident, because I knew we had players that had played in very big games, bigger than I had ever played, although I played in a cup final. But some of the games Charlie's played in, Paul McGowan's played and scored in, cup semi-final, cup final, so played in Champions League for Celtic. So real players in there that had played in big games. So no, and we'd like to add another couple of those big game players.
Absolutely brilliant, James. Listen, I'm really looking forward to seeing Dundee and James McPake in the Premiership next season. I really hope you can keep Dundee in the top flight and, of course, achieve all your ambitions. I've thoroughly enjoyed the chat. Thank you very much, James.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Peter. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Cheers.